I just wait for it to pop up. So, do you follow the streamer Belize by any chance?
No, I do not.
So, he recently started playing Bioshock. It's his first time actually playing it.
Hmm.
And it's so cool seeing the perspective of someone that's never played a Bioshock game really get into it because he loves getting to the weeds of like the story and stuff like that. He did it with The Last of Us Part 2. He's now doing it with Bioshock. And it's so cool to like see him go through all the audio logs. He's like, hold on, Tenenbaum is this, and then this Adam Ryan or was it Andrew Ryan? He's messing around here. I don't really like this guy here. So like, it's really cool to kind of see like this fresh perspective on Bioshock that it still hits even after all these years.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's a game I need to get to.
Oh, you never played it?
Never played it.
Oh, that's oh, you're gonna be fiending for that then. It's so good. There's so much to unpack in there. All right, let me check on audio check, get my coffee, and we'll be good to go from there. So I'll be back.
All right. Um, while we're doing that, I will update the YouTube stuff. Yeah, this is definitely going to be a shorter podcast. There's not too much to talk about. Um, but yeah, the show must go on. So, still giving you guys a show this week.
Sounding good.
All right, cool, cool, cool. All right, so let me know when you're ready.
I think we should be good to go. We just move a couple stuff around. Yeah. All right. Cool. Let's do it.
All right, guys, welcome to the 104th episode of the Dual Shock and Sense podcast. I am your host, Soul,
Sounding
the
good.
connoisseur anime wife, who's joined as always by uh, we actually have just 2/3 of the usual suspects today. We got Macho here. How you doing, man? What's up?
What's going on, everybody? It's King Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy Fanatic for the momentous day today. We can't wait to talk about what's going on. But other than the fact that we are losing one member, so do you happen to know what happened to him? What's going on?
Uh, actually, no, I don't know.
Oh,
What
okay.
happened?
Well, from what I've heard from the grapevine, from the Instagram thoughts, uh,
Um,
our boy is down the trenches. He's getting grimy and dirty, and is not in the best way possible. I have to
why
say
am I not surprised?
we had to say a prayer for him this podcast and for the rest of the weekend.
Hmm.
Just so you know, I think that he might have herpes. So
Oh, Jesus.
yeah, so yeah, we're gonna yeah. So well, I hope you're listening because right now we're here for you. If you need help, ask someone else. Um,
This has to be the soonest in a podcast that anyone's ever gotten some slander. Like this is so quick, man. Oh,
Absolutely, that's we honestly he needs it. So you know what?
mhm.
I hope you're listening. You self righteous bastard. Listen to your podcast and listen. I told him he's gonna get roasted, so he's gonna get all the roast today. So yeah.
Awesome. But yeah, man, we got not a long show planned. There's only a few things to really talk about. You know, it's after E3 season, so things are quieting down. It's gonna be like that for a while, I would guess. But still, nonetheless, we had the show goes on, of course, right? We had to give you guys a show. So yeah, we're gonna start off the podcast talking about the games that we've been playing these past 2 weeks, right? Um,
Yeah.
so I mean, Macho, I guess we'll save you for last because it will lead into the Final Fantasy 16 talk.
Yes, sir.
Um, but for me, really just Wasteland 3. I finally knocked that one out, finished it. It's done.
Dope.
I think over something like 50 or 60 hours I think it took to finish that. I might be underselling that. I think it may have been more, but yeah, what a fantastic game. Like exactly what I look for in an RPG. This is exactly why I always say, hey, like games like Skyrim and Fallout 4 were not RPGs to me because it didn't have the level of like decision making. It didn't have the level of like where it literally felt like every um like choice that you made, depending if it felt small or large, like in Wasteland 3, those choices had larger ramifications than you could have like ever anticipated. And those games that I listed like just didn't have those. And I don't know, I just think that's really cool. Like I had one moment towards the end of the game where I broke this who would later be a companion. I broke him out of prison. He was being held by like one of the main characters in the game, and I broke him out with like the understanding, like a gentleman's agreement of like, hey, if you join my crew, I will help you in your like coup to retake your army or whatever, because his army was like basically like usurped from him. It was like taken out from under him, like the rug was pulled out from under him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so yeah, we made that deal, and then come the final stretch of the game, I'm moving against that army without him though. He's not in my party. I left him because I didn't like his combat ability, so I just left him, and I brought someone else with me instead. So I'm rolling up to like where his army is basically like stationed, and I'm dealing with that whole situation, and I get like a radio call from him saying like hey mf'er, like you were supposed to take me to to this location to help me get my army back, and now I see that you're there without me. All right, cool. This is gonna bite you in the butt, so like
That's the equivalent of you didn't take me to McDonald's energy. Wow.
but like that's exactly what I'm saying. It's just like little things like that you just don't even like really think about, but it's like everything kind of like loops back around and is can have a consequence. And I don't know, I just love games like that that can make me feel like everything is important, all the decisions you make are important. I really loved how like murky the ending was. Like there wasn't necessarily a good or a bad ending. Like all the endings had their pros and cons, and essentially what I did was the whole premise of the game is that you're traveling to Colorado with your team on behalf of like the Arizona Rangers, who are like they're out of supplies, they don't have food, water, ammunition, like all that stuff. So you're traveling to Colorado to this guy named the Patriarch, who he's making a deal with you of like, hey, if you can help handle my children who have all gone rogue and are planning to like band together armies to go against me, if you can help me take care of them, I will like I promise you, I will send like caravans of supplies to Arizona to help you guys out, so you guys can actually survive. But as you play the game, you find out more about this guy. There's the potential that you actually band up with one of the children and go against him, right? There's multiple things that you can, or multiple ways that you can handle this situation. And ultimately, what I chose, and then midway through the game, this new character gets introduced, Angela Death, who is like, hey, help me like kill all of the patriarch's children, and while you do that, we can also take out the patriarch, so we can just take over Colorado altogether, right?
Wow, sounds like
Um,
your kind of woman.
exactly. Yeah, I was seriously considering it too, but
Oh,
the
you
major
orphan killer.
but the obviously the major con of that decision is that the supplies would not have been sent over to Arizona Rangers, who are literally like dying and stuff like that. Um, so so like I had to weigh those options like really carefully. And when I made my decision I ultimately sided with the patriarch because like I needed those supplies to go back to my home. Like some of my companions too, like they had family back in Arizona, and they're like, when I made my decision, they're like, man, this is really tough. I don't like what we're doing, but at the end of the day, those supplies really matter for my family since they're over in Arizona. So I'm gonna stick with you through this to the end, right? So I ultimately decided to go with the patriarch. There was this big civil war because in your sort of HQ, it was crazy. Like the last stretch of the game,
Hmm.
when you make your decision of like who you're siding with and whatnot, your HQ actually had like it like splits in half of like people who are siding with Angela Death, the girl who wants to like overthrow the patriarch, and then people who are like still loyal to the patriarch who are like, no, like y'all made a promise, y'all need to stick with the patriarch, right? So like I literally show up to the Ranger HQ, and it's like on fire, like this place that I've spent the entire game like building up slowly and like bringing recruits in to like slowly flesh this place out is like basically destroyed. Everyone is fighting each other. It's like a civil war inside of your home base that you've been calling home base for pretty much the entire game. It was wild. Like people that like I went out of my way to like recruit are now like shooting at me, trying to kill me. Like it was wild, man. And then yeah, so then you go on to the final stretch where you're siding with the patriarch against Angela Death, and like I didn't feel good about this about killing a fellow ranger, but like I had to make sure that whatever choice I made would ensure that those supplies were getting back to the Arizona people. So like that's ultimately what I went with. But again, I like games like that where it's like the endings aren't cut and dry, like good or bad. It's like, hey, there are pros and there are cons to any ending that you and like actually end up going with. So yeah, it was a really really good game. I'm bummed that there wasn't like romance options. Like like I don't know, that was like a really weird omission. It feels like games like these always have that, and just for whatever reason this game didn't.
It's
Um
really hard to write romanticism scenes in games. It feels like because it either comes off super cringy or just it doesn't hit off.
well, especially in like these kinds of games too, like the CRPGs where it's
Hmm.
like it doesn't have like traditional cutscenes, everything is like narrated too, so I feel like that makes it even harder. But hey, Divinity Original Sin made it work really well. Pillars of Eternity 2, even though I'm not the biggest fan of that game, it made romance options work well, in my opinion. Um, but yeah, Wasteland 3 was really really cool. I'll probably never go back and play it again. I'm good. Like I got my fill with that game.
What can you do like
Um,
different builds or anything like that? Like you don't want to see any
yeah,
other outcomes or
yeah, for sure. And obviously it has a ton of replay value because like I'm trying to think what was so I went with like a melee, like a straight up melee build in for this playthrough, but it's like you could be more of like a rogue type character, like get in there with like stealth, get in there, get out. You can get in there with like big guns, like flamethrowers, giant machine guns. If you want to hang in the back and just focus on like a sniper rifle, you can do that. Like there's multiple different builds. I just went with melee, so yeah, it definitely has replay value.
hmm
Also the companions, like there were certain companions that I just didn't bring along. That in another playthrough I could focus on them instead. Um, Obviously there's different skills that I didn't focus on that in another playthrough I could actually give time to explore those types of skills this time around, right? So yeah, I'm not saying that it doesn't have a replay value, but um I don't know, it's just different with like I really like this game. I liked it enough to finish it, but again, it's not like Divinity where like I adore that game, and I would have no issue replaying that game start to finish like immediately again. Um, yeah, Wasteland was good, but
Mm.
like it's not like that for me. Um,
So by the time the Xbox game comes out and Exile's making the Clockwork something,
uh-huh.
you're not getting an Xbox for that.
Well, no, because that game they're saying all the right things that it's an RPG and it has the RPG elements that and expect from us, but like
Mm-hmm.
it's just like I don't know. It's like it's weird. It just looks more like a first person shooter, right? Like I don't know. I've never played a good RPG that's like a first person shooter, if that makes sense.
I can't even
Um,
name you one other than like Bioshock, but
yeah, it's just like I don't know. It's really odd for that's it. I'll say this: it's not what I expected from them. Especially like knowing their roots. I would have expected like if they were gonna go like bigger budget, then the game would have been like a third person RPG. maybe like a Fable, like in that perspective or something. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's like a first person shooter. So like I didn't really get like if they didn't come out afterwards and say that hey, this is like an RPG, style like from InXile, blah blah blah. I wouldn't have known that it's an RPG from looking at that gameplay. I would not have known that. So um
Interesting.
yeah. So yeah, and I've talked about this before when Cognito was on the show, but like the writing in Wasteland 3 is fantastic. Um, there's literally this character called MacTavish, who is he is the funniest guy in this game. Where um, he is this guy who is trying to convince you that he's Scottish, but he's not. His thing is that like, when you meet him, you think he's just like straight up Scottish, but then like once you do some like digging around in his like little garage, you find this little cassette tape that's like a recording of him practicing his like Scottish accent from like a videotape that he found. So he's just like,
Hmm.
so it's just the funniest thing. His Scottish accent is so goddamn strong. It's like one of the like dialogue options that you have with him is like, why do you sound like that? And it's just like it's just like him like trying to convince you that he's Scottish. He's like, it's Scottish. It's Scottish, man.
It was good, Red
I,
Hood. Welcome to the pod.
yeah. He's like, I'm Scottish, can't you tell? It's so funny. Um but yeah, man, Wasteland 3 was fantastic. I just downloaded yesterday Deus Ex, Mankind Divided. Don't have too much to say really on that. I only played like for an hour of it, but I'm really excited to get more into it. And of course, Final Fantasy 16, the demo. I haven't gotten the full game yet, but
Okay, I was wondering about that.
yeah, but I guess I can save that for once we get into FF16. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me, man. What about you?
I mean, it's again mostly Final Fantasy 16, but I mean the past couple of weeks has been a lot of Street Fighter 6 and a little bit of Diablo. Me and Walt gathered for one night. I think it was Saturday. We played till like 2 in the morning. Just and so like our kind of modus operandi here is that instead of just playing through the game story and going through the different acts or different side missions, what we decided to do was take each each of us would carry a different build or a different job or a class, whatever, and we'll level up to level 10 to the beginning of the game and see what we both like to kind of go through the rest of the story. And funny enough, it wasn't even like with our initial class we wanted to play as. So Al wanted to go as Necromancer and he was going to go Sorcerer. And we decided to go with that, and it was fun. But we wanted to kind of see what the other classes had to offer as well. And we tried Druid, we tried like different combinations. He had Barbarian at one point, but the one that definitely gelled with us, man, was the combination of my Fire Sorceress and his. I think his was a either rogue or a barbarian, one of those two.
Okay.
So we were just kind of mowing down enemies, just even like the early levels, we were just kind of going through it. And the thing is with me, I don't know about you, but like when it comes to these kind of games where you have your own created character and your own class build, I like to have like personal backstories with them. So I'll
Okay.
either default it to myself playing as a character, and or Stella from Final Fantasy 14. But from this one, since I was so inspired by the Little Mermaid movie, and it was possible, I made my fire sorceress. I named her Ariel, and
Okay.
she looks like Holly Bailey, and it's super dope. She's a she's a mermaid turned human that's obsessed with fire. So I'm really excited to get more into that with Walt eventually when we start playing. But
Okay.
Diablo 4 has been a lot of fun. It's been good, but Street Fighter 6 is that's a winner, man. It's so crazy the amount of times I run to certain characters online, and sometimes it'll be like the usual roundabout. So like Zangief, Cammy, I see a lot of Kens as well. None of them play the same, which is mind-boggling to me. That like a lot of people have different approaches to all these different characters, and that's usually how it goes for fighting games. But for Street Fighter, just highlight even more because of the fact that there's definitely a lot more tools to play around with for everyone. So it's really cool to see that Street Fighter 6 kind of vibing with that. I'm really enjoying it. So uh, I delved a little bit into Marissa, and the worst thing about fighting games, Soul, is the fact that sometimes your brain just melts when you're learning a new character.
Mhm.
And you end up just hitting dummy buttons, and that's what happened to me with Marissa. And I was getting my butt handed to me in player matches, and just really just trying to figure out like what's the best way to use her and how to approach people with certain characters. So I'm trying to break through on that, and it's tough. It's honestly it's frustrating. I was like, I gotta just step away from the game for a little bit because like it's so aggravating. But it's more just my own fault because I'm dumb than anything else. So
She's
uh,
the big one, right?
yeah, Marissa. Yep, the big beefy woman that everyone loves. Uh, yeah, she's tough. She's tough to really kind of wrap your head around because the game's really fast and frenetic. And with certain characters like Kimberly or Cammy, or Ken, really like those are like I think three of the fastest characters. Even someone like Ryu, that's a good all rounder. It's really tough to kind of like pinpoint how you should play against them because they're all really good at what they do. And Marissa's just a really good tank that does a lot of damage. So
Gotcha.
you gotta pick and choose how you're gonna approach people with her, and it's a little bit of a more mental barrier. But I'm trying to break out of my comfort zone. I'm used to playing the fast characters, the rushdown characters like Kimberly and Cammy stuff like that. But Marissa's definitely a barrier that to kind of break through. But I'm excited though, 'cause she's a lot of fun, and whenever she just gets you in that lock hold, so what she does, she does like a gladiator like shield where she puts like her arms together, and it has like this
Yeah.
little barrier that comes up, and then you can follow it up with a grab. If you're right next to somebody, she just basically locks their arms, pins them to the ground, and does a punch that just pummels them and cracks the ground. It's so satisfying. It's so cool. But also like you feel sorry for Cammy and her small face just getting pounded to the ground. Uh, it's a lot of fun. So I'm excited to get more into her. But yeah.
Nice, nice.
And that's
Awesome.
it.
So,
That's it. Really. And then finally 16, the big talker.
yo, yeah, let's move into it then.
Let's do it. Final
How's
Fantasy
the
16.
so here's my because my impressions are pretty short.
Yeah, let's start with you since you did the demo.
Yeah, I only played a little bit of it. I didn't finish it. But yeah, so played a little bit of the demo. I really enjoyed the setup so far. I really like it. It honestly kind of reminds me a little bit of Naruto in the sense of like, you have like the tail beasts, which are all like stored within these specific people, like they're vessels for these giant tail beast monsters, and sort of in like the lore, sometimes those tail beasts would only be brought out, uh, sort of like nukes, like there were nuclear weapons at times. Um, but there's sort of like this like agreement where like, hey, like we don't bring these out because they have like the potential to destroy like entire nations. That's sort of like the nuke comparison. So like I kind of feel like it's a little bit similar here where the icons, right? That they're like stored inside these
Yeah.
people, and like when they're brought out like in battles or like in giant wars, the kind of like the pros and cons to it is like, sure, it has the potential to like win us battles, but then it's like if the other side also has an icon, then like that has the potential to like wipe out an entire like nation, and like the lives lost from that decision to use an icon, it would be absolutely catastrophic, right? So it's like you have as like one of these kingdoms, you have to weigh that decision, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it is so goddamn like dangerous to do that. So yeah, I really like that premise. Um, Clive is pretty cool so far. The combat feels really slick, really easy to kind of jump into. Um, so yeah, I mean that's sort of my impressions so far. Um, I think I was like, I don't know how you felt about this, but
Mm-hmm.
the the intro, I really liked how like it started. Uh, but like I also liked how Final Fantasy 15 started as well. Like I think that's controversial, but like pushing the car with that, what was that song I was playing in the background too?
Stand by Me by
Yeah,
Florence and the
yeah,
Machine. Yeah, that was their
yeah,
cover of
that
that song. Yeah.
Yeah, like I know it's controversial, but like I don't know. I really dug that intro.
No, I like
Um,
it too. It's
yeah.
one of those things where people are just like, "Oh, I'm playing a Final Fantasy game. I'm pushing a car. I'm just, it's just like it's just a story sub, man. It's just literally character building at this point and just introducing. It's cool. It's cool though. I like it.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, man. Yeah, just wanted to bring that up because yeah, I think both of those intros are really really cool.
Hmm.
But yeah, so had a great time with the demo of or what I played of the demo. I thought it was really cool that I don't know if you knew this, but Charlotte McBurney, who plays Amicia in A Plague Tale, she's Jill's voice actor, at least the child version of Jill. I don't know about like the adult version of Jill, if there is an adult version of Jill. And then Joshua, I'm positive that's also Hugo, who I don't know the actor's name, but like Amicia's brother in the Plague Tale, in the A Plague Tale games, is
That's cool.
Joshua. So yeah, it was really cool. Like just like I don't know, it's always a cool thing like seeing actors like getting more gigs than are in other games and stuff like that. So yeah, that made me really really happy. Um, and then like and then I saw SkillUp's review. I'm sure you've seen this popping up on Twitter and stuff like that. Uh,
I've seen a lot pop up on Twitter to the point I was like I need to step away because I really don't care anymore because it's always some
yeah.
controversy. But
Yeah, and like obviously I'm gonna play the game. I'm gonna formulate my own opinion and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. There were some things in it that definitely like made me bummed out to hear. So yeah, I'm just curious to hear like sort of what's your experience with the game and how's it been for you so far?
yeah, I mean, well, there's a lot to get into. So there's a reason why I asked you. It's like, oh, so are we just doing Final Fantasy 16 for our podcast? Because there's a lot to say about it. And for Skill Up, I mean, just to touch on that real quick, the man said like in the first 10 seconds of his video, "Listen, I'm just a dumb guy with a microphone, just talking about video games. You don't, if you like Final Fantasy 16, my opinion doesn't matter to you."
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't understand why like it got so much. Well, I understand why because Twitter and people are reactive and stuff like that. But like that's one of those things where it was really weird. And I listened to a little bit of his review. I didn't listen to the entire thing because as soon as he started talking about Yoshi P's quote about wanting to change the series from what it was, at least like from turn based to action, didn't sit right with him. I was like, all right, well, that tells me that he doesn't really agree with the direction and that he's not gonna like what the game has to offer.
Yeah.
And I assume that's what he was talked about for like the remaining of that review.
Yeah, pretty much. And he kind of
Okay.
like lamented the fact of like I think the whole thing about I'm sure you've seen this as well. The whole thing about it not feeling like a Final Fantasy game, I think kind of started with him saying it in his review.
Which is
Specifically
hilarious, but
him like finding the RPG elements kind of lacking, and specifically the companions, where he just kind of like lamented the fact that like you're not traveling with like a party for like the basically the entire game. Like there's sometimes where you'll have some people kind of hop in with you during battles and then they hop out. Like so yeah, he kind of was sad about that too specifically.
sure.
Um, but yeah, yeah, go ahead.
I mean, well, just to like on that point too, it's like he even said in that video too that that he and a couple other reviews are like the outliers. Honestly, if you go to like Metacritic and OpenCritic, this game is doing amazing. It's definitely a success, and
Yeah.
I think all that kind of beats out everything else. But to kind of like start off like my impressions here, I think the best way to sort of describe it is the best I could kind of compare it to is Wesley LeBlanc's review on Game Informer. He gave it an 8.5, and he kind of reiterated in his tweets that I rate this product an 8.5 on the fact that like a reviewer like a reviewer scale, but as someone that has played through the game, I love it. You know, like it's a 10 out of 10 for me. That's how kind of I feel about Final Fantasy 16. I think Gene Park had a really good review as well on Washington Post, where he said that this is one of the best Final Fantasies, but it's not the most innovative Final Fantasies, and that's something I could definitely latch on and agree with. So, to kind of sum up on that, From the game itself, there's two parts of my brain that loves this game, and also there's like the critical part of it. So the part that loves this game, this is everything I've wanted in a Final Fantasy game. Absolutely everything. From the high end action combat to the epic scale boss fights, the references to all of like Final Fantasy stuff. To anyone that said this is not a Final Fantasy game, we would have to have a serious debate about that. And honestly, I could prove you wrong because there's so many things about it that makes it a Final Fantasy game. And so, do you actually know what makes this a Final Fantasy game? From my time playing and from what I'm seeing,
No, I do not.
what tells me this is a Final Fantasy game is the fact that it's on the fucking box that it says Final Fantasy. That's what tells me it's a Final Fantasy game.
I'm glad it's not a situation with like Assassin's Creed. How I feel about Assassin's Creed Odyssey, right? Where it's like it's only Assassin's Creed in name because it's on the box, right? But then it's like you have all of these, and actually I'm curious specifically what you think about this. Of like to me, Assassin's Creed, what makes an Assassin's Creed game an Assassin's Creed game is like the white hooded figure, moving, blending through crowds, the assassinations, the stealth, um, the sort of ideology of like Templars versus assassins, freedom versus control, right? The
Mm-hmm.
sort of modern day sci-fi elements, all these different things is like that's when if I had to distill Assassin's Creed, that is what that franchise or that's what that name means to me. And when I look at Odyssey, it doesn't have a lot of that stuff, which is why it's not. And when I look at it from afar, that it's not Assassin's Creed to me. So to you, what makes a Final Fantasy game a Final Fantasy game? Like, what are the things that like needs to be in every Final Fantasy game in order to like earn that name to you?
Yeah, I mean it's kind of on the vague core pillars that they set themselves out for in the first of all. For first of all, and they set this even with 15, and people will say that 15 is not a Final Fantasy game, but it hits those core pillars that Square Enix has always set for the series, and that's cutting edge graphics, an emotional and riveting story, and high end gameplay. So it doesn't really necessarily funnel into just turn based combat or just action time based combat or just action combat. It really falls into, are we hitting these core pillars? And if we're satisfied with this, then this is something that we can call a Final Fantasy game. And then you have your outward physical appearances that make it a Final Fantasy game, right? So the chocobos, the Moogles, um, the crystals, right? Like everything that's surrounding this world and what makes it Final Fantasy, it's all there. You have your brooding protagonist. I mean, not everyone was brooding, but Clive is definitely there. But and there's more layers to him as well. He's not just brooding for the entire game. I've been playing so far. Just to kind of preface this, also, um, I put like 20 hours, 20 to 25 hours so far,
Oh wow, okay.
and I'm in. I wouldn't say the third act of the. I'm not exactly sure how far I am in terms of the story, but I am in the. I don't want to. I don't want to say for spoilers. Let's just say I'm in the later part of Clive's life.
Okay.
I'll just say that. For people that play in the game know what I'm talking about. So I got some more leeway into the game than some other people I can say that are playing the game. But in any case, everything's there. Like everything that makes a Final Fantasy, I feel like it's a Final Fantasy. I'm jumping into that feels like a Final Fantasy game. And the core story of this game is the fact that it's talking about icons. The
Mhm.
summons from Final Fantasy themselves, Bahamut, Ifrit, Shiva, Titan, Garuda, like all of them are there. So like I don't understand people are saying this doesn't feel like a Final Fantasy game. And I think what it really comes down to when people are saying that, and I can kind of agree with this in a sense, is the fact that there's systems in the game that's very simplified.
Uh-huh.
So the RPG mechanics, right? They're there, but they're more on the level of something like Kingdom Hearts 2, where um, you're picking and choosing abilities, you're upgrading those abilities, you are picking and choosing items and weapons. Um, on the weapons and items part, there's nothing really too much to hammer home about. Even 20 hours in, I'm kind of just sticking with like the highest rated sword and going from there. upgrading stuff doesn't really feel as substantial right now. But also at the same time, in my part of the playthrough, it feels like I'm unlocking a lot more. So this game really wants you to focus on the story and just the side quests and kind of getting used to that and really setting up the world and story and Clive's story before really delving into like the multiple systems you can play around with the gameplay, which in my opinion is one of the best things in Final Fantasy since like 13 for me in terms of combat. I really love this gameplay system, man. Like it's absolutely again, it's everything I've wanted in a Final Fantasy game. Fun and kinetic. Everything just blends together. You can do some really sick air combos. I love tying in the different iconic powers. Which one of them is, I think it's called Phoenix Rising or something like that, which is basically like a launcher. And it didn't seem like when I first like, oh, okay, it just sort of pushes up smaller enemies into the air. But like once I figured out that I could cancel jump and I could start doing an air combo and then I could do an air step, so basically jumping on top of the enemy while he's in the air and then doing another two hits. And once you upgrade the air step, you can actually double jump. So you could do even more combos. And then if you unlock the ability that has Clive, which is pressing box and X, just basically doing a downward thrust, you can do insane damage and you can follow up with even more attacks. I sent you the combo in the DMs, right? You saw where
Yeah.
I what was it? I was doing a 4-hit combo with box, and then I did the charge a triangle attack, which is the magic, and that launched into the air, and I was able to follow up with more air combos. So there's so much creativity and ingenuity that comes with the combat system, and I feel like I didn't even scratch the surface yet. I only unlocked 2 iconic powers so far, and I'm already feeling like oh yeah, I'm like starting to at least scrape the ice off of this iceberg here for this crazy combat that's just really deep and fun. It takes a while to get there though. It absolutely does. So you kind of feel like things would be a little bit too easy. At least in my playthrough, I'm kind of just mowing down enemies. Sometimes I feel like I'm a little over leveled. It could be just the overworld enemies and like the the monster to monster stuff you're going while traveling, because the boss fights are no joke. They are insanely fun. The amount of times, my man, that my hands were sweating from these boss fights, I haven't felt anything like this since Final Fantasy 7 Remake, where I love those boss fights. They're insanely fun, but they are. I think Gene said it best actually. The moment to moment boss fights in these games make Avengers Endgame look like a Walmart brawl.
That's definitely the one thing that I've seen like universal praise for that. Like everyone pretty much agrees that like the spectacle of the game itself is like top tier.
Absolutely, yeah. It just keeps getting better and better. And this is the one thing I was expecting from this team, because if you were ever to see like the boss fights for Final Fantasy 14 and how they just kept getting better and better, and they just absolutely topped themselves with Endwalker with what they did and the presentation, the mechanics. Like they know how to do boss fights. So going to 16 made me really excited that each one was going to be fun and varied and epic in its own way. And shot blessings to Masayoshi Soken, man. That man is a god composer.
Yeah.
What he does with a lot of these boss fights, man, are so insane. Like you feel a fire just brimming up in you whenever you start to hear the main theme pop off, and then Ben Starr, who plays as Clive in the game, with his line delivery is just so epic, man. I'm still thinking about the one sequence that I streamed yesterday for Final Fantasy Fridays that involved Clive in a certain boss fight, and I keep thinking about my head and just how the entire sequence just played out because it was so perfect the way it was. It's what you expect from this team. So everything about Final Fantasy 16, I'm just loving. Referring more to Wesley LeBlanc's review on Game Informer, I love it like a 10 out of 10. But mechanically and as a game, there are definitely some shortcomings that bring it down a couple notches. And again, it's not. I don't think it's the best game ever made, but it's absolutely one of my favorite games I've played so far this year. There are definitely some shortcomings. So, Skill talk about the party. parties in the game.
Yeah.
There are parties in the game. Controlling them is a different subject entirely because you only really control Torgal, which is Clyde's pet wolf,
Hmm.
and he's really good for. He has three actions. So one is just to attack the enemy, so kind of catch them off guard, so you can close in with Clive. You have a launcher with Torgal, so instead of using the Phoenix Flame or I think it's called Wicked Wheel, which is the Garuda ability that also does a launcher. You can send Torgal out to do a launcher for you and then follow up from there, and he can heal you. So in this game, healing is a little different. It's a little bit like a fighting game where you have your green bar, which is your overall health, but then once you get hit, it doesn't deplete the entire green bar. It leaves a little bit of white bar left, and that's the regenerative heals that you can get from Torgal. So you're not constantly using potions and kind of like funneling them in. So he's the only one you can really control, and I kind of wish you can control the other AI teammates as well, or at least use
Yeah.
part of their powers because it would be really cool to use Jill's Shiva power. There's a couple of times seen her just kind of standing there while I'm attacking the enemies. So it's a little flimsy, but for the part of the game that I'm playing, she's been the primary party member, and then there's others been falling in and out, and it's actually been really good. I think it's nothing like Final Fantasy 15 where you have like a camaraderie between like your bros, right? I think
Right, right.
that game really hit the nail on the head when it comes to just like a bonding group adventure. This is a
Yeah.
lot more story focused on Clive and the situations going on with the rest of the story because they set up a lot in the beginning, right, with like the Game of Thrones antics of like the politics,
Right.
sort of the twists and turns that come with that and how icons play into it. And then you have your moments with Clive that does a lot of really cool character growth, and then the story devolves into something more, which again I won't spoil because it's really interesting and fun, and I'm really enjoying it.
And that could be like really dangerous too.
Yeah,
If you do take away, like the sort of the how the party was in Final Fantasy 15, and that's not exactly carried over to 16 in like an exact way. And you just have a story that's like solely focused on one character, then you better make sure that that one character is like top tier and can actually like carry the weight of an entire game by himself. And it sounds like so far that Clive absolutely is like carrying this game.
I believe so. Yeah, yeah, because you definitely have your moments with the other characters. There's definitely they definitely play a little bit more into the Final Fantasy IV like romantic aspects with Jill and Clive, but things happened, and eventually their situation changes where they can't really focus on each other like that.
Yeah.
Um, but in that case, yeah, Ben Starr is just they really hit the nail on the head for the casting for this game,
Mm.
and Clive really sells that he can sell this entire game by himself. He's a really interesting protagonist, and people I saw some people saying like, "Oh, he's always brooding, he's always sad." Like, did you see what happened in the first 2 hours of the game? Like,
Yeah.
that would send anybody into a spiral, and then things happen, and eventually he's not as brooding. You know what I mean? So you get some character growth. He's not the full revenge type the entire time, and there's definitely more to him, and he sees a lot more that's there. So I'm really enjoying just his character. I think he's an amazing protagonist. I compare him a lot to. I saw Unalesca made the same comparison to Cecil in his journey, when he was in Final Fantasy IV, he was a Dark Knight and he did terrible stuff, and eventually he turned it around and became the Paladin of the game. So I'm seeing that sort of same situation with Clive, and that's really cool because there's an attachment character growth, and everyone around him is just as interesting and fun and unique. Benedicta is one of the best characters in the game, and she's a dominant Garuda, and she's super. She's just conniving, but she's also a lot of fun. Her boss fight is so dope too. Um, I don't know if you heard of Sid yet in the game.
No, not yet.
Okay, and then I'll hold off on anything on him. But I think well, Sid's always like a mainstay. Which, by the way, is another Final Fantasy thing. Just to let y'all know. So this is a Final
Okay.
Fantasy game. Um, but Sid is just is always like a pivotal character in most Final Fantasy games. Not all of them. In 14, he's definitely a force to be reckoned with. He has a lot of influence. And 16, he's no different. He's one of the core central characters of the game that definitely shapes Clive's journey, and it's really nice to see. It's cool to see that kind of influence from that character, and plus he's actually voiced by the same voice actor from Diablo 4, Lorath, I think his name is.
That British guy with like the really deep voice.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah, he's fantastic.
Yeah, he voices Sid. It was funny. I saw his tweet, and he was like, "I had no idea these two were like a month apart from each other, but I'm happy to play these characters." So,
Oh,
but yeah, so a little bit more on the negatives. I think the side quest criticisms I'm seeing are really valid. There are
okay.
some that are really good and flesh out the situation and sort of people's mindsets, and there are others that are kind of just okay. Like the first couple ones are very much fetch questy MMO like, and we're like, oh, just deliver these the food to people and the sanctuary from outside invaders, right? Um,
Yeah.
and I was like, all right, fine. It's a little bit of like world building, kind of get to know these characters, but then they make you do it again, and but under a different context. I'm like, okay, fine, it is what it is. And so there's a couple ones I'm just like, all right, they definitely didn't flex their muscle with the side quest stuff. It was more of just kind of like a small world building that doesn't really, it's not really like endearing or a lot of, it's endearing, but it's not like a lot of fun. But then there are others, and one I did last night, and I was like, oh snap. So to set up a little bit of the game, of like the kind of like the how this world works is I'm sure you saw before how like there are people called bears, and those essentially those are the kind of people that can use magic without crystals.
Yeah.
And instead of what you would think of them to be as like more higher up in society, they're seen more like tools. So they're absolutely treated like garbage. And there's so many crazy stories that you see in the game about people that are branded as bearers and how people treat them. There's one story where a woman, I think, what was it? It was pretty early on. It's like in the first 10 hours of the game, and I was in a tavern, and then Clive and Jill were talking to the head of the tavern, and then they were overhearing a conversation from a mother that just walked into a group of other women in there, and she was saying like, "Oh yeah, I left that brand that bear out in the wasteland," and she was talking about her baby. Like she just left her newborn baby out there, and then her son walks into the tavern, and she's like, "Am I gonna get a new baby brother?" She's like, "Yeah, in due time, you'll get a new one." Like that's the kind of world that we're living in here, and it's really crazy. And there's a side quest I did last night where a little girl, or Clive went up to a little girl because she said she lost Chloe, like her pet or whatever. And I was like, okay, let's go and see if we can find her dog or a cat or something like that. She was talking about a person, a bearer that we found dead in like near a windmill.
Oh wow.
And she was saying like, well, but Chloe was like my plaything. She was able to do magic for me. And Clive was like, that no, that's a person. That's someone's daughter.
Hmm.
So from here on out, you have to treat people differently. And then the girl like had a completely like a relapse. Like she had an epiphany. She's like, oh wait, this is a person that's kind of like me. My father told me that bears don't have parents. They're just the way they are. So the world sets it in the way like they set up like the world and like the catastrophes of like how people think about one another is really crazy. And also makes you it also validates a little bit of why there's a lack of black people in the game, dog.
Oh man.
Because I guarantee you, people would have thrown out the African memes with the hat,
uh,
and people would have been like, "Hey, yo, there's a lot of slaves in this game." I was just like, "Hey, yo, that's wild." Square Enix probably made the right call there, man. Um, But yeah, I mean, this sets up some very dire straits, and like, so like, I'm very involved with the world and the story and the characters, so it's selling me. It's not like how Final Fantasy 15, how I was just kind of going on about. Like, the most interesting thing about Final Fantasy 15 world was its history and its lore, and that you don't really get until like the last 5 hours of the game, maybe, or the last couple chapters, where you learn a little bit more about it. And this one, there's a plethora of information and quests and times to really just get involved with everything. And on top of that, you have the active time lore, which is a new system brought in, basically streamlining all the information that you've learned in the game and everything that sets up. So this system is really smart because for someone like me that's into Game of Thrones, I've read the books and watched the play the games and watch like the show and stuff like that. The terminology is not lost on me. I'm not by any sake of imagination like lost in like when they're talking about the duchy or the province,
Yeah.
so, but you know, and stuff like that. This game is for people that are not into that. This game gives you a nice breakdown of like who's who and what's what, and even better yet, as I'm like in the last part of not last part, but like the third part of Clyde's life, you even get like a breakdown of connections and relationships, stuff like that. So you get all that stuff broken down to you. So by any chance you decide to or decide to leave the game for a little bit and come back to it, you have a fresh like Wikipedia in the game itself. You don't need to go outside of it, which is really nice. So,
Gotcha.
so there, yeah. So there's a lot to love the game, man. I so far I'm loving the game like a 10, and it's everything I wanted from a Kingdom Hearts combat inspired um, Final Fantasy game with a darker tone. Right, this is everything I wanted from Final Fantasy Versus 13 and more.
Yeah.
But yeah, but besides that, there are definitely some glaring things that are gonna knock it down a few points, including the side quests and including some pacing issues here and there. But overall, I think it's something really good. I'm really loving the characters and everything else. I think it's a great Final Fantasy game. It is a Final Fantasy game. Anyone that says otherwise are just honestly being idiots. To be really frank, like everything about this game screams a Final Fantasy top. Besides, not even besides, just like it just has a different combat and different approach. So, yeah, it has everything a Final Fantasy game should have, and it feels like it. And I'm loving it. So, I think it's incredible.
Awesome, dude. I'm glad that it was like. It seems that it's like worth the wait for sure. That like, is that's like the worst thing, right? Can you
Mm.
imagine a game that you've been looking for, like probably your favorite franchise or one of your favorite franchises, and then a new entry is announced. It's been years until it releases. You build up all this anticipation, and it's just a dud on release. Can you imagine that? So like, I'm
Yeah.
glad that wasn't the outcome. That it's actually no, it's actually really really good. So happy for you, man.
Thanks. Yeah. No, I think specifically for you, right? Because I know you are the RPG guy,
Yeah.
especially now where like you really found your pocket of games that you love and want to sink your teeth into.
Yeah.
I think with Final Fantasy 16, you're going to be disappointed with the options that it gives you for customization and
See, but that's the thing is that I'm not walking into, at least from the Final Fantasy games that I've played, is that I'm not walking into this expecting it to be, you know, Divinity Original Sin 2. Whereas, you
mm,
know, a game like Pillars of Eternity, I walked into that game believing that it would be something like that. Therefore, that's why I was disappointed when I played it. You know,
uh
I have a good idea of what this game is going to be. I know it's not going to be like that, so I'm good. I'm not going to be disappointed about that.
okay, good, because yeah, I mean, like, because I could see what was Skillip was saying. I think about the RPG stuff about it's not like fully fleshed out or not what he expected from someone that played Final Fantasy 14 or 10 or stuff like that, right? Those are like those are core games where like you can really flesh out like what you want your characters to play as.
Right.
16 is not like that. So I can see people that would be disappointed in that, but I wouldn't say it's like a setback for the series or anything like that. It's just more simplified. Um, and personally, I wish there was a little more meat on the bone, but at the same time, I really like what they have to offer. You know, it's one of those things where yeah, there could be a little bit more to this, but I'm still satisfied because it's a lot of fun, and
Right, right.
that's kind of the point of it. So I think people go into expecting like they want a Final Fantasy X spear grid system or they want a 12 gambit system. This is not like that because a lot of people are jumping into. I've seen it so many times. So this is gonna be people's first Final Fantasy game.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
So I can see why. And Yoshi P has over the years has he made a decision to make 14 more simplified to just keep bringing more people in. And what happened? The game has over 20 million players now.
Yeah.
So he had the same mindset of Final Fantasy 16. But for someone that has like me that has played 14, has played 10, has played 12, going back all the way, to the originals, um, I would say Final Fantasy 16 is way more simplified in its approach to RPG mechanics, and that can really turn you off and make it feel hollow and meaningless. Or you can just go along for the ride and really enjoy what the combat has to offer and the story, which is like the really main focus of it. But if they were to make another game like this, I would say that they should make those a little bit more in depth, make it a
Mm.
little more meaningful, because it will tie in more to like combat scenarios and stuff like that. Like it would be really cool if certain iconic abilities were tied to certain weapons for Clive instead of just
Right.
having just a sword the entire time. Like imagine if they brought over not the 14 job system, but having Garuda's abilities right tied to daggers, so it's all about speed and finesse. Whereas Ifrit could have been all about the sword, or Titan could be all about like the hammer and stuff like that, which is something that Final 15 did really well, right? You just kind of switch between different weapons and stuff like that.
Right, right.
So I think that could have been really good for this, but if this is a blueprint for future Final Fantasy games, I think it's a really great direction. I'm excited to see where they go with it. I was talking to Red Hood about it too, actually, in the stream yesterday, about where they can take the next game.
Mhm.
It's up in the air at this point, man. Like seriously, Final Fantasy 17, they drop the number from here, but they keep going with action. That's what makes it so exciting. We don't know. This could be the last numbered Final Fantasy for all we know.
Yeah, because then Yoshi P talked about that
Yeah,
specifically about like the numbering.
exactly. Yeah, how they want to drop the numbers and stuff like that. So this could be the last numbered Final Fantasy. And if that's the case, then it's going out with a bang, and it could honestly be up in the air from here. But I think I don't think people should really like set in their minds that this game or this series is gonna be straight action combat for the rest of the end of time. I think it's gonna
Right.
be a mix of everything else. So if the next one could be turn based, then let it be turn based. I think the just real quick, I think the perfect marriage though, I will say this. While Final Fantasy 16 is definitely one of my favorite games, I think it's one of the best Final Fantasies. It's going to be one of my favorite Final Fantasies just from what I played. I think 7 Remake still handled the marriage of turn based and action much better.
Yeah, yeah. I've been hearing that too, I think.
Yeah, like this, to me, 7 Remake and 16's like AAA quality are absolutely there, and they share a lot of similarities and stuff that I really like and I'm really enjoying. But 7 Remake's combat, the only gripe that I had about it was the air combat, which 16 solves, and it's a lot of fun. But with 7 Remake, they just absolutely like if they took that combat system and applied it to every other Final Fantasy number Final Fantasy from here on out, I think everyone would be happy because it's so in depth and amazing and a lot of fun. But yeah, we'll see how it goes from here. But overall, Final Fantasy 16, it's an amazing game. I love it. I think a lot of the criticisms are valid, and some people's worries and um, sort of negatives about it are a little hyperbolic. But
Mhm.
um, I did see. Did you see before too how people were saying like the game kind of falls, the story falls flat near the end of the game where it does like a weird left turn.
Yeah, a little bit.
I saw that too, and I mean, I guess I just had to play and see how I feel about it, but that feels very contradictory because every Final Fantasy has really done that. I guess it's more just on execution than anything else.
Yeah,
But overall, like every Final Fantasy has done this, where like they flip an Uno card on you. It they did it with the first Final Fantasy game where you're fighting Garland, and guess what? He's chaos. He's the embodiment of evil.
yeah,
So you're gonna be fighting him. They've done this for every Final Fantasy game. So like I don't understand like what the kind of like what the hype up is for all that. But from what I've played, they're introducing this twist in the story pretty early on. So I'm super excited to see where it goes. And yeah, it's really invigorating fun. So yeah.
nice man. Yeah, I think I'm gonna. So I think I'm gonna wait a little bit because I hear performance mode can be a little rough at times. Even when I was playing the demo, there were some times where it was chugging. So I think I'm gonna wait until they kind of like iron that out, and then I'll hop in. But
That's fair.
regardless, regardless, I'm pretty excited to jump in when I eventually do. Um,
Yeah, it's a roller coaster, man. Like it really is. I think that what kind of what makes it like a little weird is that like the hype moments are so hype.
yeah,
It's freaking amazing. And then you have like your more quiet moments, your more side questy, just traveling. Like again, it's you're getting that impression that you're on an adventure, and that's a Final Fantasy game for me. So it hits those core vague pillars we're talking about, which is like an emotional story, high end graphics, cutting edge gameplay, and on top of that has everything that makes it a Final Fantasy game. It's really fun. But yeah, for on your comment performance mode though, I noticed it more in the beginning of the game, but as I'm progressing through and you have more of the open landscape, it feels way smoother. So I think it's more in those opening moments where a lot of things are going on in the background that make it chug a little bit. But gameplay overall has been very smooth at 60.
gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, man. So yeah, that is Final Fantasy 16. One of the biggest games of the year, and I'm glad that it turned out good, man. Because yeah,
Same.
that would have been yeah, that would have been crazy if it wasn't. Um,
Yeah, same,
all
man.
right.
I just real quick too. I would say for people talking about game of the year, I think this is gonna be nominated. Not even think. I know it's gonna be nominated. Um, I know it's not gonna win because of Tears of the Kingdom. But I, without a doubt, this game is gonna be nominated for it. If Bayonetta 3 could win Best Action Game of the Year, this is a no brainer.
All right. So I guess this kind of like transitions into the rest of 2023, where
Mm-hmm.
we're kind of like at the halfway point of the year. So like I wanted to do a little bit of like a I guess sort of like a look back, but also like a look ahead. Obviously there's been a ton of great games that have already released, but now that Final Fantasy 16 is like is out, what are you personally like looking forward to for the rest of 2023? We still have a ton of big games that have yet to release. So yeah, what are you looking forward to, man?
Sea of Stars, Baldur's Gate 3, Mortal Kombat 1. I still haven't played Resident Evil 4 or uh, Jedi Survivor.
Mhm.
I haven't played for Forbidden West Burning Shores.
Yeah.
Spider-Man 2, obviously. Avatar comes out in December, man. Yeah, there's a lot, dude. And on
Oh,
top,
that was just sneaking in there. I feel like.
yeah. And on top of that, Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty.
Yeah, yeah. Like I was
So
I
there's a
was I was
lot.
doing I was doing the math last night because like I was on like I do every once in a while on the PlayStation Store looking for an RPG, and of course there's nothing. Uh and I was like, you know what? It's gonna be a dry period for me right now in terms of RPGs. But
Yeah.
just thinking about August is Baldur's Gate 3. September is Eternites, which me and Will are very excited for.
I can tell. I can tell. I
Um,
played that demo actually. It was pretty
oh, you
cool.
did. Nice,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah. So that game finally got a release date for like September 21st, I think.
I think so,
Um,
yeah.
and then also in September is Phantom Liberty, which I'm really excited for.
Are you
Um,
gonna replay the game?
no, hell no, hell no.
But I heard about the overhaul. That's what I was asking.
Maybe at a later date, but
Uh,
no, I'm happy with my V that I had with my first playthrough. Like she's I really like her, so I'm gonna carry her over.
okay.
Um, why did I feel like there was like one more RPG that I was really interested in? Maybe that was it, but regardless, I'm set with those three. Like it's that's gonna be like more than enough for me for the rest of the year. So yeah, I'm really excited for those three. Obviously, Spider-Man 2, right? Gonna check that out.
Absolutely.
Um, but yeah, I actually like aside from those four, I actually don't know what else, to be honest.
I mean, I'm looking.
Um,
I'm looking at the list I have right now, and it's everything I just listed off that I think we kind of share the same. I have, yeah, Sea of Stars, Baldur's Gate, Mortal Kombat, Cyberpunk, Spider-Man, Avatar. Those
oh,
are.
Ghost Runner 2 is supposed to come out this year, so
Oh yeah, there you go.
whenever that's supposed to come out. But then also like,
Stellar
here's
Blade. Where's Stellar Blade?
exactly that's the weird thing. Yeah, we don't know what's up. They still have that for 2023, so it's like, what's going on there, you know? So, so we have to know like at some point soon. You would imagine we're kind of running out of months, so.
Oh, yeah, yeah. But I'd say one other one that was announced like Summer Games Fest that everyone kind of threw like a wet fart at. The Lord of the Rings Return to Moria game.
Uh,
Don't do me like that, man. Come on. I want to go into the fourth age of Middle Earth and mine the mines of Moria. I want to do that.
you might be going there alone, man.
That's all right. I'm used to it.
But yeah, man. Yeah, I just wanted to do that because it's like there's still a lot of good stuff coming out that I know we're both really excited for.
Especially Baldur's Gate 3. I'm really excited for that.
God, so excited! I cannot wait.
Is
That's the
Diablo
only.
settling in for you? Is it satisfying?
I haven't played Diablo.
You haven't? I thought you did. I
No,
thought you picked it up.
no, I haven't got it.
Damn, what are you waiting
Um,
for, homie?
I don't know.
Don't tell me the reviews got to you. You're like, this is not what I
Yeah,
want.
they kind of did.
What? It's an 88. Are you serious right now?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I the reviews I watched, it was like it's funny because like with demos, it's like yeah, you play the game in like small spurts and it's like really cool. But like after watching some reviews, it's like man, I don't know if I really want to be doing this for like 60 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I don't know, man. Here's the thing. I'll probably wait until it kind of comes down in price because like I am still interested in it, but I don't know if I'm really interested in the grind for that long. So
I mean, I can't say too much because I only put like 10 hours into it. But like the way I'm kind of treating it is like it's gonna be that game I play with Walt or my neighbor or whoever wants to link up and or my coworker whoever wants to link up and play it, and we just kind of go from there.
right,
I'm not really giving it the priority, to be honest. It's just more of just like I like to like play that with more with people than anything else. So
because like that's kind of like how I imagine like Destiny is like running through
oh yeah.
these dungeons or whatever or strikes whatever they are over and over and over again until you get like the loot that you want. And I imagine Diablo is kind of the same thing, kind of like that similar grind. And it's like that aspect of those games don't like they're not fun to me.
It's not really it's actually a little more streamlined than that because
Okay.
you constantly be swapping out your equipment for obviously the better one. So there's nothing really much to kind of pay attention to there. It's
Okay.
it's more about your skill tree, building that out and building out what kind of class you want or what kind of build you want out of your class. There you go. That's what I was trying to say.
Okay.
Yeah, it's way more about the gameplay and exploring the world and kind of getting invested into the story than anything else than like the grind, the far as of what I played. But
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's not like I'm not gonna play it. I'll get it down the road, because I'm still interested in it. But Yeah, I'm gonna hold off on it for a little bit. Um,
Okay.
which it's because like I whether it's gonna be that or FF16, I do need something that's gonna hold me over until August, which is still a long way away. August 31st, I think, is when Baldur's Gate is coming out. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so like I will probably pick up one of those to hopefully hold me over until then. But yeah, we
Yeah, with
will.
Diablo, yeah, Diablo. I mean, you have like a meaty RPG to
Yeah,
get into with all different classes. With 516, you would just have a action thrill ride that with a crazy fun story that has a really deep combat system. And I even talk about like the arcade mode and the stage replays. Like I haven't touched those yet, but from what I've seen, they're very much worth doing because they're a lot of
yeah,
fun. So yeah, there's a lot to bite into that with that as well.
awesome.
So you can't go wrong with that
Um,
either.
yeah, for sure. So yeah, man. 2023 is looking really, really cool. How are you feeling? What's your game of the year so far?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Um, I actually have to look at the games I completed this year. I mean, the one that sticks out is absolutely Tears of the Kingdom
Right.
because that was like such a awesome game, man. Just like thinking back on the adventure of it, and just I was actually talking about it with Danielle, who was, by the way, for people who are watching, check out the Shocking Sense episode that I did with Danielle, who's a director of the Final Fantasy IX fan made audiobook. Get to the weeds of like the process and her stuff there, so it's really cool. But I was talking to her about Tears of the Kingdom for a little bit, and we're just enamored by like the sense of adventure that game gives you and how much fun that it is, and um, just the story pacing and everything like that. Like everything we are just kind of vibing with, connecting. That was like really fun. But 516 is hitting that note too, where it's just like this is everything I've wanted. Like everything I've wanted from a Final Fantasy game since I played Kingdom Hearts 2 is in here. So
Yeah.
how can I not adore it? Um,
Right.
but man, there's so many other stuff too. Hogwarts Legacy was great. The Xenoblade 3 DLC was absolutely fantastic. I know it's not like a game of the year sort of contender, but like
Yeah.
it was still amazing. Octopath Traveler 2. Yeah, there's so many great stuff. And I even played Jedi Survival. Jedi Survival, so a lot of great stuff.
Okay.
What about you?
Yeah, because I'm going through my list of games I finished this year. Hogwarts Legacy, Doom, Injustice 2, Chia, Horizon Burning Shores, Dishonored, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, Resident Evil 4, and Wasteland 3. Uh, it's probably Resident Evil 4, honestly. 'Cause yeah, it was just like what a fantastic game that is, top to bottom. Um,
The default answer right now.
but it's true though, cause like, and it's like it's even cooler, cause like I won't have this when I play Final Fantasy VII Remake, cause I never played the original. But like, it's so cool to have that perspective of like, yeah, I played the original RE4, and it's so cool like revisiting those same areas and seeing like how they've updated this, because I
Mm.
didn't have that with the OG Resident Evil, or with RE2 remake or RE3 remake, because I never played those original games. So like having that here with RE4, like it like made that experience even cooler to me. Um, I'm
Mm.
trying to think, that might be the first case that I've ever had that in terms of like where I played the original game and then I'm playing the remake. So yeah, I don't know. It was just a really, really cool experience.
Yeah,
Um,
man. Seriously.
yeah, but then also, of course, just like the gunplay and story and just all that's it's just the controls are so tight. It feels really, really good to play. It was like one of those rare games where like, because you know me, I take my time sometimes going through games and
As you
like.
should. As you should.
Yeah. But with like RE4, it was like one of those rare games where like I couldn't stop playing it. So yeah, it feels like a boring answer, but it's the right answer for right now.
Honestly, I can't blame you. I cannot blame. It's like that's what people say for me with Final Fantasy 16. So it is what it is. But I can't wait for you to get to Final Fantasy 7 remake, man. Seriously.
I was so here's the funny thing is that last night I was actually gonna the plan was to get it last night when I was scrolling through the store. Um I got a $10 I put $10 into my like account or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, but then I didn't know for whatever reason I thought PS Plus was still $10, but it's like the bottom tier is like what $15 now or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't. I was blindsided by that because I was like, the
You're like,
plan
whoa,
was
$5.
yeah. The plan was the plan was to get whatever tier it was to be able to play Intergrade. Um, and yeah, so like for the entry level to be $15, I was like, that's a little, that's ridiculous. That's a little ridiculous for me, you know. So then I saw Deus Ex. That game's been in my wish list forever. $6 for like the deluxe edition. Hell yeah! All right, I'm finally gonna get into that. And it was like 80% off because like there's like a summer deal or summer sale right now on the store. So I was like, all right, let's finally knock that one out. So yeah,
Damn.
so
You elude one of the best games ever made again. That's wild.
yeah, I'll get to it. I'll get to it.
I'm
Remember the deal. Remember the deal, man. Final Fantasy 7 remake will be finished before the year
listen.
is up.
You're gonna start Seven remake like Rebirth's gonna come out in March. You're gonna start remake in February. I guarantee it.
Nah, it won't be that late. It won't be that late.
I'm excited for you just to get into because like if all the Final Fantasy games to modern Final Fantasy games to release that in 16 just have the charm of Final Fantasy like none other. Like it you feel it in your damn soul like what these games are about with 7 remake. It's really cool.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm excited for you to really get into that. I was already talking about with Sabrina, shocking the senses of like certain scenes and like how they really nail like the characterizations in there. Um, Even with Danielle too, like she was just amazed at the fact that like we can see these characters in supreme detail and it's really cool. So yeah,
Yeah.
you're gonna enjoy it.
Yeah, I think so too.
Oh yeah, Hi-Fi Rush is another good one from this year. That was like the right at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
That was incredible too. Yeah, that was amazing. That was what a game that was. So many good stuff.
So yeah, I mean that's gonna do it for that. Really, our last topic is just like kind of recapping the Ubisoft showcase, I guess the Xbox showcase as well, if you want to go through it. I mean
Yeah,
we don't have to go through like everything, but just like some of our highlights and stuff like that. I really wanted to talk about Star Wars Outlaws because I don't know about you, but like the game really did it for me. I've talked about this before.
really.
I've talked about this before. Heists. That's my favorite genre of like books, TV, whatever. Or like one of them. I just really love that genre. Whenever I play, RPGs and I have the option, I always choose Rogue. That's what I did with Diablo 4 when I played the demo. That's what I did with Divinity Original Sin 2. I played as a Rogue. I love just like a good thief class. Um, Star Wars. I mean, you remember back with this was kind of a little bit what Star Wars 1313 was seemingly going to be like, and then Amy Hennig's game as well, where you were playing this sort of like space, almost like space gangster or whatever. Um, but like that is like literally my dream game right there. I'm not the biggest Star Wars guy, but I do love that aspect of Star Wars, the sort of like seedy underworld aspect of it. I've always thought is like really really cool and well handled. Um, and I enjoy that stuff more than the like lightsaber stuff. Um, so like just the fact that we are getting a like exactly that an underworld, dark, gritty, sort of dirty, um, game where you are playing a like space scoundrel. I imagine this will be like Cowboy Bebop almost, but like in the Star Wars universe, right? Like
Interesting.
that sounds nothing but cool to me. Um, and it's Star Wars, so I don't imagine this to get like super super dark, right? But I don't know, man. This
Really? Really? The third movie, that dude was killing kids. That's dark.
true, true, but we're in this. That was before the Disney acquisition, though.
Oh,
So
come on.
we'll see. We'll
Oh,
see.
come on.
We'll
Stop
see.
it.
We'll see. Then again, there was Rogue One. You know, I'll give you that. Um,
Exactly. That was a really good
which
movie too.
which is the best Star Wars movie in the Disney era. Let's not forget about that.
I
Uh,
would actually agree with you. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
But regardless, man, yeah, this really spoke to me. Yeah. How about you? It seems like you're a little less hot on it, right?
I've been like out of the Star Wars funk for quite a bit, man. Um,
Oh, okay.
it's one of the reasons why I wasn't super keen on picking up Jedi Survivor yet, because you know how like you just have like, these dips and highs on like a franchise that you like.
Yeah.
I'm sort of in just the dip right now for Star Wars. I think like after Obi-Wan, I was satisfied with what the series was offering, or the franchise was offering, because I got that kind of closure from it.
Yeah.
But with Jedi Survivor, I'm just really excited to get into the story because I love Cal Kestis and everything. But like, it's one of the things I can wait on. So watching Star Wars Outlaws, I was like, okay, that's fine. You know, like once I get my Star Wars kick, and I'll watch Andor. I'll pay more attention to this game. I'll pick up Jedi Survivor and stuff like that. But this one seemed really interesting for the fact that it was like an open world Star Wars game. But I don't know, man. I feel like there's a veil on this game where same thing with Starfield, where Tyler was like, "There's gonna be 1,000 planets you can explore," and then we just learned like 10% of them only have life on them. Um, I feel like it might be the same thing for Star Wars, unless they track it very carefully. With like, yeah, it's an open world Star Wars game, but like you can go out into space and go to other planets, stuff like that. I feel like it's gonna be very story focused, so that's probably gonna be like one of the things people don't like about it. So, but we'll find out.
Yeah, and there is that aspect of, it is Ubisoft making it, so there's always a potential for it to.
No, that's EA,
Yeah.
isn't it?
No, it's Ubisoft.
What's the one by EA then?
Jedi Survivor.
Isn't there another one that you're doing though?
I mean, Respawn is working on like a Star Wars first-person shooter, but that hasn't been announced yet.
Okay, all right,
And
okay, so,
then,
yeah, yeah.
and then there's the one with Quantic Dream, the Star Wars Eclipse that we have literally seen or heard nothing about since it was announced like 2 years ago.
I wouldn't expect to see anything from that. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, so this one's from Ubisoft, so I mean, we'll see. The thing is, with Ubisoft games, if it's gonna be like Hogwarts Legacy, where if it's caked around a franchise that people love, I think it's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
You know, because
Yeah.
a lot of Hogwarts Legacy's gameplay designs are pretty basic, but
hmm
it gets the job done. But it's nothing like revolutionary. So
Yeah, for sure. Um, but yeah, that really spoke to me in an otherwise pretty boring conference. I don't know how you felt about like
I think it's
even
the
the
best
present
conference.
even like the presentation of that
I
was
loved
just
it.
odd,
I
man.
loved it.
Like they just it felt like they just put a bunch of like lawn chairs out for everyone to sit in, and like the audio was super weird. Like it felt like they were just like recording it just like right off the stage. Like
It was the
it
most
was
E3 ass presentation ever, and I loved it.
like they just did it in like the goddamn like lobby of like a building or something. Like I don't know. Like it wasn't even like a stage really. Like it was bizarre, man.
I loved it, man. It was again, it was everything that we missed about E3 presentations, being cringy and weird and kooky and fun, and it was all there. Like asking stuff I didn't care about whatsoever, like Just Dance and doing a whole number there. That was hilariously bad. Um, what was it? I think the guy from that helmed the Castlevania anime was someone doing an anime for what Ubisoft property was it? I forgot what it was, but he made some really corny and stupid jokes there. But I mean, the kicker of that entire showcase for me, man, was what it presented with in the first thing that was there was Avatar.
Yeah. How? But did you like what you saw, or how was it for you?
I really liked it. I pre-ordered the collector's edition.
Oh shit.
And it was once I made peace with the fact that yeah, this is gonna be Far Cry, but with Avatar. I was like, yeah, I'm down for that because coming from Walt Burbrain ass, that Far Cry 6 was actually a good game and it was worth playing. I was like, okay, if they can just adopt like the good stuff about Far Cry games into an Avatar game, then I'm down for it. And I really liked the presentation. I liked the story trailer. I thought it was really good, and then like the gameplay overview was also fantastic. It's looking like what I've been wanting from an Avatar open world game for a long time. So and from what people are saying, Ubisoft Massive or Massive Entertainment, or whatever that dev that's doing it, they make good stuff. So I'm looking forward to it. So it looks good. I like it a lot.
That's I just thought about that. That's wild that Massive is making both an Avatar game and Star Wars Outlaws. That's pretty
Mm-hmm.
insane.
I mean, they've been working on
Uh,
Avatar for so long that it was definitely like a couple years before Way of Water even got its title
yeah,
announced. So they've been working on this thing for a long time. So I'm happy to see that it's actually looking like a true Avatar game, where it looks fun and unique and definitely the kind of the refresh from the Far Cry series that some people might want from it. But for me, as like an Avatar game, I wish it was third person. But they have
yeah.
third person aspects of it, where like when you're riding on the Banshee, that you can see your character flying around, stuff like that, and there's air combat and all that kind of stuff. So it's looking to be like a really good game. So I'm excited for it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it looks. I mean, I don't know. I'm not really into Far Cry in general, and I haven't even seen the second Avatar movie, so I probably wouldn't get it. But it's still, it's like one of those things, like how I felt about like Avengers when like we saw that teaser for like years and years in advance, right? Where it was just like what it was like Thor's hammer and like Cap's shield, I think, or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. And then we hadn't heard about the game in a while. Then it was like, okay, when we finally get that big blowout presentation at like E3 2019 or whatever, it was like it feels like I always like when it's like these games of like that kind of enters that stage of like legend where it's just like it's teased and you don't hear it for a long time, and then you finally get to know like what it is exactly. I kind of feel that same way with this, where it's like it feels like we've known that this project has been in the works for a little bit. We haven't seen anything, and then to finally get the big reveal, it's like okay, like it's almost like a sigh of relief. Like we're finally getting to know like what the hell this thing is. So
Mm-hmm.
I always find those things like really really cool. Um, I kind of feel the same way about like Amy Hennig's Black Panther Captain America project, where it's like we just got a tease about that, and I'm excited to at least see like what that thing is even gonna look like. So yeah, it was cool that we finally got to see that thing. Um,
Absolutely.
did you see the Assassin's Creed VR thing?
Oh, no. I maybe I think I heard Skill talk about it in the video, but I kind of just didn't care.
I, so like to me, this is like another example of like the worst case of like showing off CGI trailers, and like you know me, like I've said it in the past, like I'm not vehemently like against CGI trailers. Like there's times where like it makes sense and times when it doesn't. The Concord CGI trailer absolutely made no sense to me. That's like the worst example of it. But then with this one specifically, it's like I just don't understand. Like people need to see like the game in action, specifically in VR, to see like how it's actually gonna be like. So like for this, the big like reveal of it to be CGI, and it's just like Assassin's Creed characters doing Assassin's Creed things. It's like okay, but how is this actually gonna be like in VR, right? Like I don't know. I just thought it was like a really bad like first impression of that.
Yeah, I mean the stuff that was shown during that show. Honestly, for me, Avatar and Prince of Persia were the best things shown there. Everything Assassin's Creed was just
I thought honestly they did a disservice to Mirage, Assassin's Creed Mirage.
yeah.
Um,
It
cause like,
looked very cookie cutter.
but like also, um, So we know that, or at least the rumor was that this was supposed to be like a DLC for Valhalla, and then they ended up blowing it up into like its own game.
No, that's the
And
rumor.
like, well, yeah, and
Jeez.
after watching this, it makes so much sense because I don't know if you've ever seen just like just like random gameplay clips of like Odyssey, Valhalla, or Origins of like just people you talking to like NPCs.
Hmm.
To me, it always looks so goddamn robotic, like how those NPCs move and stuff like that. And then like when I was watching this for Mirage, it's like, God damn, have we really not? Has Ubisoft really not advanced like their NPCs or characters since like 2017? Because they still look when they're in conversations, they still look just as robotic and like unnatural as they did back in Origins. It's so odd to me. Like watch that gameplay reveal that they did in the Ubisoft showcase, and when he's like in the little bureau place talking to like the other assassins, it just looks so bad, dude.
Oh, I did. I did. I was like, this is something I don't need to pay attention to.
Like compared to like Forbidden West or other or God, even like The Witcher or other games that are doing similar things, man, it just feels like it's just like such a step behind. Like it looks bad, man.
It looks
Uh
like Forspoken.
oh man.
To be clear, like there's there's certain like design aspects of it just feels dated,
Yeah.
which is what I mean by that. Especially when it came to like Forspoken, I harped on it because of like the constant like fade outs and stuff like that. This one had like the main character for Assassin's Creed Mirage had the main character go into a building. There's like a fade out and then the fade in a cutscene.
Yeah.
I'm just like, why are we not at the point in like at least this kind of game where the guy could just open the door and then you can see what's inside and you see him walking in and it cuts to the cutscene. Like
Yeah.
I don't like it's little design choice like that that really like can immerse you. The constant fade in and fade outs are just like so jarring at this point. It's just I don't understand why they. It's just little stuff like that that I'm seeing. I'm just like, okay, I'm not gonna get it, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much my thoughts on the Ubisoft show. For Xbox, I thought the standout was the Metaphor Re Fantasio, the Atlas game that's like from the Persona series director. He's moved on from Persona and he's been chipping away at this game. I think we've known about it since God, like 2018 or something like that.
Yeah,
So
for a while because that's when
yeah,
every Persona fan started crying because they realized they were gonna get Persona 6 for at least a decade.
yeah, man, come on now. Watch your mouth. Oh, but yeah, and then so like it was cool, yeah, to see he's moved on to that. Shoji Meguro, who's like also like the Persona 3, 4, 5 composer, he's doing the music for that game. We don't know about the Persona 3, 4, 5 art director. I don't know if he's staying with Persona, doing Persona 6, or if he's moved on to this project as well. I'm not sure about that, but regardless, it was really, really cool to see that game in action.
It looks
Um,
amazing.
it really, really does.
Like the art direction, like it's one of those things where it felt like the honestly looking at that remind me of Octopath Traveler 2, where I was like, oh, this is playable. This looks like somehow this they made art playable.
Yeah, yeah,
And so I'm really excited to see like how they kind of take that a step further with this one, especially since Persona 5 was such a feast for the eyes. This is looking like it's somehow leagues above Persona 5 in terms of art
yeah,
direction. It's crazy.
yeah. And I'm still not a big fan of what Xbox has kind of been making a habit of what they did this last E3 as well, where
I feel I know what you're
Persona
talking
3,
about.
yeah, Persona 3 and then 5 Tactica, um, and then Metaphor Re Fantasio. They're announced, of course, only to be coming to Xbox, and then we had to wait like what 2 days later. So like for 2 days, everyone was like wondering like, are these coming to everything else or what's going on?
Shout out to
And then
everyone that actually thought that that was gonna happen, but continue.
yeah, as if. And then 2 days later, then it's like, oh, okay, this is actually coming to everything else, right? And it's just like, it's weird to put an embargo on that. I don't exactly see what's the advantage of you pretending like these may be exclusives, where when in 2 days we find out they're not.
It
it,
might it
it's just
might be the mind share because when Spider-Man 2 was first shown off during the PlayStation showcase,
Mhm.
remember I told you before that I had like two people text me like, "Oh, this is coming to PS5."
Yeah.
It might be the same thing where like, "Hey, a new RPG from the guys that made Persona 5 is coming to Xbox." And people will be like, "Oh, that's coming to Xbox? Let me get an Xbox now."
But it's not even like a long enough time for you to like are people seriously doing like on the same day, like, okay, well, okay, pressing purchase on Xbox right now, like
Well, I
I
mean, to your point, Xbox console did see like a jump in sales right after that showcase, so
okay,
possibly,
fair enough.
possibly,
uh
yeah, especially with
but
Starfield now. So
yeah. But regardless, like it's like you compare that to PlayStation, where it's like right after the show, you know exactly what platforms these games are coming out on. So it's like I don't know, man.
yeah,
I just find like embargoing, like when companies can say what other platforms these games are coming out on, it's just so petty. It's so weird to me. But
I just thought the
whatever.
conversation was hilarious. Like, is it gonna be an Xbox? Like, are you for real right now? Do you think the next major RPG from the from Atlas is gonna be Xbox exclusive? Come on now.
Yeah.
Like it's enough of a boon that it's in Game Pass day one. Like yeah, that's great, that's absolutely amazing, but an exclusive, I don't think so. Not in a million years. At
And
least not at least PlayStation 5 and Nintendo's would have to be selling like garbage for that game to be exclusive on Xbox.
and
Just being real.
then like first party wise, I was really kind of like disappointed in Avowed specifically.
Oh
Like
really? I was actually enjoying that.
that game does not look like because like here's the weird thing about like this is where again CGI trailers can backfire. That original CGI trailer made that game look like something now that it's clearly not.
Yeah.
Like it made it look like it was something like a dark, medieval fantasy kind of game or whatever. And then it's like you move into like the actual gameplay reveal, and like first of all, of course, it does not look nearly as good as that original reveal trailer. Um,
Yeah.
and then it's all these bright and fun, vibrant colors, which is fine. But then it's like, okay, well, clearly, like, what was that thing that you originally showed us, right? It's like two different things now. So like that's kind of like where my like it was jarring. It was just jarring. That's kind of like what I felt.
To be honest, I didn't even remember the kind of tone the first trailer set out. So when I saw it again, when I saw it again, I was just I wasn't enamored by it, but I was interested. I was more interested in the fact that like the character dynamics and stuff like that, and the magic spells. Like it honestly looks like a nah, that's mean to say. It it looks good. I'll just say it looks good. I'm more interested now, especially since it's like more fantasy ish. Because watching the showcase, which it definitely set a tone for me that I'm way more into fantasy games than I am sci-fi. So
Okay.
this one definitely spoke to me a little bit more. Um, but yeah, nothing too crazy to hype about. But yeah,
And then like the last two things I'll talk about is just like Hellblade and Fable. Specifically Hellblade, like
that trailer
I
sucked.
it look, man, it just feels like we've gotten that style trailer already from them. Um, and it's just like I was really expecting like just like an unedited segment of like her, you know, getting into combat. Like what does a legit combat encounter look like in this game? We still don't know, even though this game was announced back in 2019. It's just it's insane to me, man. That like it. I feel like it felt like this E3 was like the moment for Hellblade to have its big blowout. Of like here's exactly what this game is gonna be, and I still feel like none of my questions about that game have been answered, even now that E3 has come and gone. It was
Yeah,
just a really and look, I'm all for tone pieces like that. Um, but when it's what year 4 of us knowing about this game, right? Maybe year 3, it's kind of like getting to that point where it's like okay, like come on, like let's kind of get the ball rolling on this, you know?
Yeah,
Uh,
from someone outside looking in, it didn't move the needle at all for me. So
yeah. And that game's gonna be fantastic. Like I have no doubt about that. But it was just a really, in my opinion, just timing wise, it was just not the trailer that game needed. Because like it's like we know Hellblade can do that really well. You know those weird, trippy, um, sort of tone piece,
sure.
atmospheric kind of like set pieces. We know that game can do that already, right? You're not telling us something that we don't already know, right?
Hmm.
Um so yeah, that trailer just did absolutely nothing for me. As someone who likes Hellblade a lot, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um and then Fable too. I thought the humor was pretty good with it, but I was really kind of again, a game that in this case that we've known since 2020. I was just expecting like maybe like God, like do you remember the Horizon Zero Dawn E3 2016 demo that they did?
Yeah.
Right? Where like it starts off with like Aloy coming out of this like village, and it's just her just walking through the world. These like natural things happening to her. So, right, she gets into a fight with like a watcher. She overrides one of the like bulls or whatever, rides the bull up to this like little village or whatever, and she sees one of the corruptors and gets into a just a natural fight with a corruptor, which is like essentially not a boss but a semi-normal enemy that you'll actually fight in like just the normal world while you're walking around, right? um that's what I expected from both Fable and Hellblade. Just like show us what like a normal like moment to moment like just gameplay encounter is gonna look like in these games, and we still like didn't get that from any of these games. Like they showed like Eric Greenberg, doing his job beforehand, tweeting, all our
Uh,
first party games are gonna
Aaron
are gonna be
Greenberg.
are gonna be gameplay, no CGI and whatever. It's like okay, but you showed us like what, like maybe 5 seconds of like a combat encounter for the Fable demonstration, and it's like, all right, I guess technically, yeah, that's gameplay, but like not the kind that we're like kind of like looking for. So I don't know. That one also kind of like didn't do much for me. What about you?
I liked it, but yeah, it's the same thing. I was expecting a lot more from it.
Yeah, because I think even in our predictions, right? One of our predictions was, Fable's gonna show more than five minutes of gameplay, right? And I think kind of like the inspiration behind that over under that I wrote for you guys was that like this feels like the time where they need to come out and tell us like what this thing is actually gonna be, because we've known about it for so long and we still don't really know. So
Yeah, that's why when I was watching this presentation, I was watching along with Maximilian dude in his stream, and I think just his vibe matches mine, where we saw everything and we're just like, okay, that's cool. Like I can see why people are super excited for a lot of things that are in here, but they're just not for me. It's the same thing when I like look at Final Fantasy or look at fighting games, and people are like, I don't care about any of that stuff, but I'm happy that you're happy, kind of thing. That's kind of the vibe I just kind of left away from this showcase. I was like, there's a couple of really cool things in here. Like I like the Exile announcement. I thought that was pretty cool. Avowed looked nice. Fable, I'm glad that was there, and especially the oh god, what was the game from Compulsion Games that they're making? That looked pretty cool too.
yeah,
Um,
South of Midnight or something.
yeah, yeah. So there's a handful of really good stuff in there that I thought was pretty cool, but nothing else like really like yeah, like I can't wait to play that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
But
Um,
Fable's the one thing I was looking forward to, and I'm glad we saw it, but I was a little disappointed we didn't get more gameplay because I was really looking forward to see what they do with that. Um,
yeah,
I never I never really played Fable. I just more like I watched my cousin play it, and it just it's fun to see that kind of that game and see like you know what kind of crazy stuff you come from it. But it's interesting what how that game's gonna fit into the mold of other open world fantasy RPGs with the ones that we're getting nowadays. So it'd be interesting to see where it fits and all that.
Yeah, for sure.
Honestly, I think it's gonna be fighting Baldur's Gate 3 in terms of like in depth and what it can do as an RPG. Um, or
Well,
what?
we'll see. We'll see when it comes out because it may not be until 2025 that we see that one.
Man, that sucks. That
Yeah,
sucks. Well, honestly, Baldur's Gate 3 have enough in it to last to 2025. I feel like so.
probably.
That game is looking juicy, man. Oh
I'm
man,
excited.
did you see all the overviews from PC Gaming Showcase with that game?
Oh no, I'm trying to be.
Oh, you're dark.
Yeah, I'm dark.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I,
Cool. That's right.
literally the only recent footage I saw was when it was at that last state of play, and that's pretty much it. So, oh, and
Mmm.
I guess the Summer Games Fest that weird trailer too that I didn't need, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean
Uh,
that game's looking mighty fine. I'm excited just to really sink my teeth into that one.
too. All right. I think that is going to do it for episode 104 of the
Not
Dual Shock.
Starfield.
Oh, okay, so I didn't see the gameplay stuff. So I'm guessing you saw it, right?
Again with Maximilian, dude, just like kind of co-watching the stream a little bit. Yeah. Um, again, same sort of motto here. I'm happy for people that are happy. I don't care. So, it's more falling into the sci-fi and fantasy thing. I'm way more of a fantasy guy than sci-fi. So for people that are happy with this, yeah, it's definitely up your alley. But we'll see what it does. It was just really funny to see the kind of funny interview, and we called it too. Like Tyler was like 1,000 planets you can explore, and only 10% of them are gonna actually like have like life on them. So
That's still a goddamn ton of planets, though.
that's 100 planets, yeah, of just like actually giving some sort of context, yeah, which is incredible. So I'm excited to see what they do with it, but you know, we'll see what happens with that game. I have a feeling it's gonna be really, really good, but you know, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, me too. I think it's gonna be fantastic. But yeah, that is gonna do it for the podcast. Episode 104 of the Dual Shocking Sense podcast. Once again, want to thank everyone who came out and rocked with us for a little bit, either live or after the fact. We always appreciate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And without further ado, get started with these outros. Macho, you got anything going on this next week?
Yeah, man, I'm actually taking a trip down to Florida next week, so
Oh,
we're go.
hopefully you get here. Because it's been storming this entire week. Um, so I actually don't know what the weather's gonna be like next week. So hopefully it's not the same as it was this week.
Okay, I'll pay attention to that then. I mean, yeah. With that said, yeah, I'm heading down to Florida. Wife and I are gonna be hitting up Epcot and seeing Walt too. So of course you're more than welcome to join us that Friday.
Okay.
We're going out to dinner. Um, and mostly Final Fantasy 16. That's honestly that's gonna be the priority for this entire weekend and up to when I leave for vacation. So that I don't know if I'm gonna finish it. I'm gonna try to because I'm just trying to avoid spoilers as much as possible, and people are going really trigger happy online. So I'm gonna see if I can finish that up, and I'm just gonna enjoy this nice Ifrit and Phoenix statue I got in my Final Fantasy 16 Collector's Edition. It's it's quite the thing, man. I'm so happy. I paid a lot of money for it, but I'm happy I did. I'm not saying that as a veil for my sadness of losing money. No, not in the moment, not in the slightest. Is this statue is freaking gorgeous. The colors are amazing. Ifrit fighting Phoenix looks so damn cool up on the shelf here, right next to my Warrior of Light from Final Fantasy 14. So yeah, it's gonna be mostly Final Fantasy 16, but from here on out. But yeah, for people tuning in, thank you for watching, clicking the like button, much appreciated. We're close to 200 subscribers, Soul. Very
Yeah,
close.
that's crazy.
So we're gonna see if we get that number up. And I'm gonna reach out to more people for shocking the census. So check out the episodes we have on the channel. Um, The first two are up now, and we got some really great people, some inspiring artists and fun people, mostly from the Final Fantasy community because that's who I'm reaching out to that I have close ties with. So expect some more sooner rather than later. So it'll be fun. But yeah, I think that's just about it.
Nice, nice. Yeah, for me, let's see, what do I have? I'm actually really excited for this month's class that's coming up this next week. It's about storytelling with video games, so I'm like super excited for that.
Oh, that'll be dope. You're probably gonna learn all the ins and outs that you're like, holy crap. I can see
Hopefully,
why some games will just have weird stories.
hopefully. Yeah, so there's that. Later today I'm going to post a little Uncharted it's always hard to describe this video, but like I made like a an Uncharted like series tribute kind of trailer. So yeah, it's gonna be going up on the podcast channel literally in like I don't know, maybe 20 minutes, something like that, after the podcast is done. So yeah, definitely
Nice.
look out for that
Did you fit the
today.
Uncharted theme in there?
No, 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 it's not in there.
Would you?
Uh,
What? Were you like? Would you get in trouble for that?
I do not think so.
Okay,
Yeah. Um, but
I'm
yeah,
excited. I'll check it out. Everyone should check it out.
yeah, for sure. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for me as well. So, yeah, that's gonna do it for us. We will see you guys for episode 105. Hopefully, something juicy from these FTC hearings happens. We've been getting some interesting little
Oh Lord.
tidbits here and there, but hopefully something dirty comes out, man.
And
Uh,
honestly, it feels like everything from there is coming out crazy, hot and wild at this point.
yeah. It's honestly I don't want to like actually talk about it on the podcast, but it's just fun to like read about it. Some of the stuff that's being said over there. So
Yeah, it reminds me of the MTV and VH1 days with those like the shows Next and what's it called oh god, that one show where random people went to like their crush's room or whatever to see what they're about. I forgot what it's called, but it's such a trashy show. It was so good. Yeah, I'm getting that vibe here. Phil Spencer's, at least all the Xbox guys are just like we're we're desperate guys, please. we're, we're desperate. And Sony on the hands like, oh yeah, no, it's fine, it's fine. Don't worry about
but yeah, that's gonna do it for us. We will see you guys next time. Peace out.